Your entire novel hinges on just 5 seconds of change. Now, we spend weeks, months, even years crafting the perfect novel. We write incredible plots, we build fascinating worlds, we craft these spectacular action scenes and develop these emotional love stories because we want to move our readers. And yet, many times, it seems like we don't. And this is because we are spending tons of time writing about what happens, but readers don't connect with what happens. They connect with who it happens to. This leaves many first chapters feeling hollow, and we've all seen them, we've all read them, where we open up the chapter and there's a sequence of actions or explosive events that happen, and yet we really don't feel anything. And the reason we don't feel anything is because we haven't had a connection to the people that these events are happening to. So in the middle of all this chaos, there are these characters who are experiencing things that we can't really relate to yet. So what I want to talk to you about today is this very important 5 seconds of change that you have to have in your story in order to connect with your readers. And this has nothing to do with plot, but it has everything to do with the soul of your character and the soul of your story. And by the end of this video, you're going to know not only how to find it, but how to create it and how to make it the anchor of your entire novel.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author. I'm also a teacher. I'm not an influencer. I'm not a content creator. I mean, I guess I am now, but this isn't why I started this channel. I started this channel to connect with readers and to teach you because that is what I do. I'm a teacher. So let's move forward and talk about the 5 seconds of change. So let's talk about traditional advice. When you read books on plotting, what you are told is that you need to start with the inciting incident. And the inciting incident is that big event that kicks off the plot, right? So in a crime scene, it might be finding the body. In Harry Potter, it was him receiving the letter. So it's an event that happens that starts off your story. It kicks off the change that's about to happen in that character's life. And it's absolutely essential for your novel. You do have to have an inciting incident. But the inciting incident isn't what creates that emotional bond between your reader and your character. When you open your story only with an external event, what you're giving your reader is a puzzle that they need to decipher or to build, right? But you're not giving them an actual character to care about. So imagine you open up a box. The character opens up a box and the box explodes. Okay, so now what? We don't know who this guy is. We don't really care about him. I mean, yeah, too bad that the box exploded, but we don't know who he is. We have no connection to this character yet to worry about him, to wonder anything about him. It's just a scene. Okay, this box exploded and this character died. Now what? What you've done is made your reader an observer. He watched this event happen. He didn't feel it, and he didn't have a connection with that character. So what we have done here as writers is if we have written a plot-driven story, which there are many plot-driven stories that are very well written, but you haven't created a character-driven story. And we do need a combination of both. As long as you remember that the inciting incident is telling us what happened, but it's not telling us anything about who it happened to, which means that we're not really telling the reader why they should care about this. And we have to do this. We have to allow our reader to enter into the body of the character, because that's the only way that the reader is really going to understand and feel the emotions that they should feel that you're writing about. Otherwise, you just have a sequence of events, one after another, that the reader is observing, but they never truly become meaningful. So let's talk about this 5 seconds of change. What is this? Where did it come from? And how do you create it? Well, this came from storyteller Matthew Dix. He is a master storyteller, and he talks about this 5 seconds of change and why it's important. And he's even said it could be 3 seconds, it could be 1 second, but it's something. It's an event that happens that fundamentally changes your character from the inside. So think of it this way. It's not the car chase. It is a moment when the driver that's in this car makes a decision, a choice that's going to change his life forever. And I can give you a real live example. Something like this happened to my father. So he was driving a truck. He was going up a hill where he couldn't see what was on the other side of the hill. And when he reached the top, there was a car on the other side as he's going down that had hit a deer, and it was the car was dead. The people apparently were waiting to get help. And when he tries to go around this car, he sees the car, tries to go around it. A woman runs out of the car. She must have been sitting in the passenger seat or the driver's side. I'm not quite sure. But she runs out into the only other lane where my father was going to go around. So what does he do? He has to make a split second decision, right? This is a fundamental change that's going to change his entire life. And he either keeps going, which means he hits her, or he turns the truck again. He's going to hit the car. He's either going to hit her or he's going to hit the car. But he turns the wheel so hard to avoid hitting her that his truck actually goes off an embankment, off of this massive hill. And it ends his life. So it was a life-changing moment, a life-changing decision that took seconds for him to probably think in his mind, oh my God, I can't hit this woman, right? So what are my choices? I turn the wheel. Now, in a story, there could be an internal struggle that goes on. Obviously, my father only did have moments to make a decision. But in a story, we obviously are getting into the head of our character. We can see what they're thinking, and we can observe the war that might be going on in there. What do I do? Do I make this choice? Do I make this choice? Do I make this choice? Do I only have two choices? Do I have three choices? And we want to, as writers, write about it. What is the fear? What does each choice mean to this character? How does this character decide ultimately on their choice? What we want as writers is to make that war in their mind visible, right? So we want to be able to see, we want to be able to get into that character's mind and see how this character makes that decision. Let's look at one more example. Let's look at an actual story example. So you've probably seen the movie Jurassic Park. You might have read the book, but this is basically a story about a bunch of wild dinosaurs that they bring back, right? From a DNA sample they bring back, they create this island full of actual dinosaurs. And so it's this massive chase scene of these dinosaurs chasing people, killing them, going out of control. And the story is, of course, that if we mess with biology, if we mess with life, it can be very dangerous, right? But the actual story really isn't about a bunch of dinosaurs running around. The actual story has to do with the character, the main character. So at the beginning of the movie, we see that he actively dislikes kids. He doesn't like kids. They're chaotic. They're uncontrollable. He really doesn't want any of them of his own. And he doesn't really want to have much to do with them. So you would think really that 5-second moment of change happens when he learns that there are these dinosaurs, this island full of dinosaurs, and that he's going to go be able to see. He's an archaeologist, and so he's going to actually be able to see living, breathing dinosaurs, and that this is exciting. And it was exciting for him. But the moment of change doesn't come when he lands on the island and he sees his first dinosaur. He's in awe. He can't believe it. But nothing has changed inside him. Nothing has transformed him. The real moment of change happens when a T-Rex is attacking, is chasing after him, and he's about to attack the children that he's taking care of, right? So people have died. Him and his wife are taking care of these two kids. And when this dinosaur is about to kill these kids, chasing after these kids, and it's up to him to save them, his whole world shifts. He's actually become the father figure, right? And so he's willing to put his life on the line to save these kids. And that is the heart of the story. That's the real change. That's that 5-second moment of change that transforms him forever. So think of it as a dividing line. On this side is the old character. On this side is the new character. So now that we have that, let's talk about how to do this. How do we create our own 5-second moment of change in our own novels? Well, the first thing is we have to define our characters' core beliefs, or maybe even their core misbeliefs, right? The things that they believe about themselves that aren't really true. So Dr. Alan Grant thought he didn't like children. He thought that he would make a terrible father. And when it came down to it, it was wrong. That belief was not correct. He actually made an amazing father figure, right? So what is your character's misbelief? What is your character's fatal flaw? What is your character think about himself or herself that really isn't true, that if it was tested, he would learn that no, that's not actually true. That's not who I am. So the first thing you want to do is write that down. What is my character's lie that he's telling himself about himself? The next thing, of course, is that you're going to create conflict in the novel. And the way that you're going to create conflict in your novel is that you're going to make your character face his fears. So what does your character want more than anything else? And what does your character fear more than anything else? And the real magic happens when these two things are in opposition to each other, right? So the thing that he loves is opposite of the thing that he fears or hates. So your character, for example, might want and really crave a deep connection with another person, but yet your character is terrified of being betrayed. Well, direct opposition to each other, right? You can't really have a deep connection and fall in love if you're afraid of being betrayed by anybody that you fall in love with. And where does that come from? Maybe they have a problem with loyalty. Maybe they have a problem. Maybe somebody they know betrayed them in the past and they're afraid it's going to happen again. In Jurassic Park, what Dr. Grant fears is that messiness of children, right? He likes his life to be controlled. He likes to know what's going to happen. He fears anything that's messy and chaotic. And so where do we put him? We put him in a very chaotic situation with wild dinosaurs all over the place, and also put him in the care of two children. So everything he fears is right there in front of him, and he has to deal with it. Now, once you do this, you're going to have the clash, right, of what he desires and what he fears. And this is where your 5-second moment of change is going to happen. And it's where it's going to appear. And so the best way to do this is to early on in your story, create a little hint of this in the ordinary world. So before your story gets crazy, before that conflict, before that clash of the desire and the fear, you're going to give the reader a little hint. It's not a huge dramatic event. It's something that's small and really intensely personal to that character. If we look at another story, so we look at The Hunger Games, right? And the main character, Katniss Evergreen, is the one who's going to go into the Hunger Games. But even before that, before she is selected or volunteers to go into the Hunger Games, we see this really quiet moment where she's comforting her younger sister, Prim. The sister has a nightmare, and it's a nightmare about being selected for the Hunger Games, which eventually she is selected. And when Katniss tries to comfort her, we see that little glimpse. We see that hint of what Katniss is going to eventually do, which is to fiercely protect her sister. So to protect her family against the Capitol's power, she's going to put her own life on the line. And this shows us everything we need to know about this character. We know that from this moment forward, she is going to be the one that everybody can count on to save them from the horrific things that the Capitol is doing to the world, right? To the population. So what you need to do with your story is do something similar to that. Give us a little tiny hint of who your character is capable of being. Your character is telling you, no, I'm has this misbelief about himself. I can never fall in love. I can never have a real connection with somebody because they're going to betray me ultimately. So what's even the point, right? But we want to show maybe a little hint that no, your character is able to make a connection. Your character actually does have a connection with something. It could even be, a pet. It could be anything, right? But we want to show that, yes, he's capable of it so that later on when it happens and your character has that 5-second moment of change, we believe it, first of all. And second of all, we understand that he was always capable of this to begin with. And we can do this, in a variety of ways. Maybe your character is at work and a coworker just asks a simple question that maybe is too personal and requires him to make a connection with somebody that he works with. And for a second, you see just the kind of the torment on your character's face where he's, do I open up to this person or do I not open up to this person? Do I trust this person or do I retreat? So it's a little flicker, right? A little hint of what's to come. And by the way, your character could do either thing, right? Your character could open up and trust this person, showing us that this character is capable of this. And later on, he's going to really trust someone. Or maybe he does retreat. And we see that fear. We see that battle between what I want and what I fear. And it's okay for them to retreat at this point because they're not ready, right? They might not be ready. We can show that he's taking a mini step, or we can show that no, he's still backing away from this. And that shows us something different, right? That the character still has a lot of growth and is not ready to trust, even sharing a little tiny personal story with a coworker. So the best part about this 5-second moment of change is not that it's an isolated scene, but it's that it's a continual growth that's going to get us to this 5-second moment of change, right? There are little things that are happening along the way that are going to get us to this moment where your character has to make a decision. So once you know what this main conflict is going to be, once you've shown us that, every major plot point is going to lead to that 5-second moment of change. So it's no longer just a series of things that are happening. It's no longer just a bunch of isolated events, car chases, things that are happening, just plot-driven story, but it's actually now a character-driven, emotionally driven story where there's a series of tests that are happening that are going to lead your character to that moment where he has to make a major decision that's going to change his life. So that initial inciting incident that we talked about now carries more weight because it's not just an external event, but it's also an internal event that has personal stakes. This makes Jurassic Park not just this kind of fun science-y movie, but it's actually a movie about the transformation of a scientist because they made him face his fears. They made him face chaos. They made him face unpredictability. And finally, when we get to the point, right, the climax of the movie where the T-Rex is chasing the kids and he is killing the kids, about to kill the kids, we're not really surprised that Dr. Grant is going to help them. We know that he's going to help them because he's made this decision, right, that he is the protector of these children. And what does he do? He actually confronts this lie about himself. He confronts this misbelief about himself, and he admits that no, he doesn't hate children. And yes, he is capable of being a father figure. So the 5-second moment of change does something very important, which makes your character answer an important question, or it makes us ask an important question about the character. So can this person face his intimacy issues and his fear? Will the person who thinks he's a coward actually become brave and heroic? And the rest of your novel becomes the answer to that question. So I hope this is making sense. And I hope that you're enjoying the video. If you are, I'm asking you to please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel to get more videos like this one. And tell your writing friends to come and give the channel a try. Okay, so what I'm saying here is then don't start with a massive earthquake. Start with the little tremors that are leading to the massive earthquake. Before you write that inciting incident, think about what is going to be my 5-second moment of change. And we need to know that because that is the moment that reveals your character's soul. It shows us who that person is when nobody's watching, right? And because it is emotional, we, your readers, are going to follow the story because it's touching, it's emotional. And so it doesn't honestly matter what the plot is. We're going to follow that plot because we care about the character and we want to know, well, is this character going to follow through? Is this character going to actually win? Is Katniss, now that she's facing horrible capital, is she going to win? Is she going to survive? So we're not really curious about the events as much as we're curious about what's going to happen to this character because now we care about them. So if that box shows up after this character has the 5-second moment of change and they're about to open that box, right? That's going to explode. Now we're screaming, don't open it. Don't do it, right? Because now we care. If it was the inciting incident at the beginning of the story, we don't even know who the character is. It exploded. They're gone. Game over, right? What's the point? But if we put it later on in the story, now we care because now we don't want that character to open. We want something to stop this character from opening that box. So maybe you've used this before. Maybe you've done it unconsciously, right? I know that I have, but when I read this, when I actually heard Matthew Dix talking about this on a podcast, I was like, oh, yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do in novels. And that's what, we have now a cute little name to call it, but that is that moment of transformation that we all talk about when we talk about plotting. So I'd love to know if you have used this before. If you haven't, how do you plan to use it? So leave a comment below and let me know what your experience has been with your character's 5-second moment of change. And again, if this was helpful, I hope that you will come back. I post a new video every Friday. I'll see you then.